The plane comes in low over the water, and for about 90 seconds Miami does the thing it is famous for. Turquoise shallows, white towers standing along the sand in a line, posing. Somebody 2 rows back says out loud, to nobody in particular, that they could live here. You said that once, then you actually did it. Now you know the part the window seat doesn't show you, that the light is free and absolutely nothing underneath it is, that the ocean is 11 minutes from your door, and you have not been in it since March, and that the most Miami sentence in the English language is no state income tax. Said cheerfully, by a person who is about to be quoted a car insurance premium. On paper, this life makes sense. In practice, you are paying resort prices to go to work. 1. The postcard is accurate. That's the problem. Nobody lied to you. That's the disorienting part. The palms really do that thing at sunset. The water really is that color, even from the causeway, even in traffic, even when you're late. The food is not a marketing campaign. It is genuinely, unfairly good, and it is good at 11 at night, which is a category of civilization most of America gave up on. People here dress like the day might matter. Somebody's grandmother will correct your coffee order and she will be right. You came for that, and you got exactly that. It's just that it came bundled, the way a cable package used to, with items you did not select. The listing said 1 bedroom, 900 square feet, water views. The water view was real if you leaned. The price was $2,000 a month before you learned the local dialect. First, last, and security, which is a polite way of saying you need $6,000 in cash to be allowed to sleep somewhere. Then the amenity fee. Then the parking spot, which is separate, because in Miami your car and your body are billed as 2 different tenants. You did the arithmetic in the leasing office with a smile on your face, because everyone in that room was pretending this was normal, and you were new. And being new means agreeing. You will learn that most people here are running a version of that same equation. The city is full of very competent adults doing advanced mental math at stoplights. A hostess who can tell you the exact dollar difference between a Tuesday shift and a Saturday. A contractor who prices a job to the foot in his head in 2 languages while driving. Nobody put that on the degree either. And the whole time, the postcard keeps working. That's the trap. If it were ugly here, you'd have left in year 1, sensibly, the way people leave places that don't sell you anything. But it isn't ugly. It's the most beautiful place you have ever lived, and it charges accordingly, and it does not care even slightly whether you can afford it. You didn't move to a city. You bought a subscription to a view. 2. The heat is a second job. By June, you stop describing the weather as weather. It becomes logistics. You learn the shade map of your own neighborhood, which side of the street at 2, which parking garage level stays cool, which door of the building you can reach without crossing open asphalt. You start carrying a second shirt the way other people carry an umbrella. You develop opinions about the temperature of your car's steering wheel that would sound psychotic to anyone from Ohio. The humidity is the real story. Heat you can leave. Humidity gets inside the building with you. It gets into the drawer with your leather things and turns them green. It gets into the wall behind the shower and becomes a conversation with your landlord that lasts 4 months. Your hair has a public position on the matter, and it is not aligned with yours. And the county has been quietly formalizing all this. Miami-Dade now recognizes an official heat season, May through October, which is a bureaucratic way of admitting that half the year is a hazard. In 2024, the county logged a record 60 days with a heat index at or above 105 degrees. A couple of summers before that, the city ran 46 straight days where the afternoon felt over 100. A streak that obliterated the old record. Then you go back outside, because the shift starts at 4. So the day reorganizes itself around the sun. Errands at 8, gym at 9 at night. The middle of the afternoon becomes a kind of local siesta that nobody calls a siesta because we're Americans, and we'd rather just be miserable and productive. The people who don't get the option, the roofers, the landscapers, the guys pouring concrete on a tower that will be marketed to someone who has never sweated in this city, they get the option of drinking water faster. And the electric bill arrives, and it's higher than it was in your last apartment in a colder state, and you have finally understood the arrangement. You are not paying for air conditioning. You're renting a small pocket of somewhere else. 3. Everybody looks rich here. Here's the first hidden rule. In Miami, the car is the resume, and the apartment is the secret. You will meet people who valet at a restaurant where the check is going on a card they are actively managing. You will meet people in a fifth-floor walk-up with a lease 3 months behind who will not be caught in the wrong sneakers. This is not stupidity, it's strategy. In a city where the whole economy runs on who returns your call, looking like the deal is going well is part of making the deal go well. The performance is not vanity, it's marketing spend. And people here are good at it. That's what nobody tells you. There's a genuine craft to it. The ability to make $300 look like $3,000, to know which table gets you seen and which one gets you charged, to arrive somewhere with exactly the right level of unbothered. Watching a Miami professional operate a room is like watching someone parallel park a boat. You feel like you should applaud, but you are calibrating against a distorted sample, because the people you're watching are not one population. Miami has the widest income spread of any major metro in the country. Among U.S. metro areas, its inequality reading tops the list. And in the city itself, the bottom fifth of earners average around $10,000 a year, while the top fifth clear $250,000. Those two groups are standing at the same intersection. They are in the same photograph. So you take your cues from the wrong half and start quietly losing. Then the comparison goes fully industrial, because everyone you know is also posting. The brunch, the boat, the friend's boat, the boat that was rented by 6 people. And somewhere in year 2, you find yourself doing the thing you swore you'd never do. Running a small internal audit of a stranger's watch. You didn't come here to compete. You came here for the beach. But the beach is free and everything around it is a scoreboard, and nobody's told you what the winning number is. 4. The second rent. There is a category of expense here that nobody warns you about, because the people who warn you about things are usually renters, and this one comes for everybody eventually. Start with the car, since you have one, since you have to. Miami has the most expensive auto insurance in Florida, and Florida has some of the most expensive auto insurance in America. Full coverage in the wrong zip code runs north of $300 a month, and the zip code matters more than your driving does. 2 people with identical records and identical Corollas can be $50 or $100 a month apart because of what happened on somebody else's stretch of the Palmetto. You did not cause that. You are simply nearby. Then, if you were sensible and bought instead of rented, the envelope arrives. Because after Surfside, Florida did the correct thing and made it illegal for condo boards to keep pretending the building would hold itself up for free. 30-year milestone inspections. 25 if you're within 3 miles of the coast, which is most of the good addresses. Mandatory structural reserves. No more voting to skip it. Engineers with clipboards in the parking garage, tapping concrete. So the letter comes, and the letter says the roof, the columns, the waterproofing, and your share is $40,000, due in installments, starting soon. Around Miami, those special assessments have been landing in the $30,000 to $75,000 range per unit, and on the older towers with real problems, past $100,000. You bought a 1-bedroom. You now co-own a construction project. You can't easily sell it either, because a building that hasn't finished its paperwork can get flagged, and a flagged building can't be bought with a normal mortgage, which means your buyer pool shrinks to people with cash and patience. The one piece of good news you'll get all year, and it is genuinely good news, is that your home insurance premium came down. Citizens cut rates for the first time in a decade, with the deepest cuts right here in Miami-Dade. You will celebrate this. You will tell people. And then you'll open the actual bill and remember that the relief is a discount on the highest premiums in the country. You moved to a state with no income tax and discovered the money leaves anyway. It just goes out through the roof instead of the paycheck. 5. The math that doesn't close here is the thing you cannot say at dinner without ruining dinner. The wages here do not match the city here, and everybody knows it, and everybody keeps going anyway. Miami sells itself as a global capital, and in some rooms it truly is. The funds move down, the tech guys move down, the art fair week means something. But the actual job market underneath all that is hospitality, healthcare, logistics, construction, and retail. That's the engine. A hotel does not run on venture capital. It runs on a housekeeper, a line cook, a maintenance guy with a radio, and a front desk manager holding 6 problems in her head at once. And those jobs pay what they pay in a city that costs what it costs. So the arrangement becomes, rent takes the first check entirely. The second one covers the car, the insurance, the phone, and the groceries. which are noticeably more expensive than they were wherever you came from. Whatever's left is your entire life. Almost 60% of renters across Greater Miami are cost-burdened, the highest share among big American metros. The housing researchers up at Florida's Schimberg Center put it plainly, that homes here are out of reach for workers in the fastest-growing jobs. Meanwhile, the Alice count says more than 500,000 Miami-Dade households are either below poverty or can't cover basic needs. Then your manager asks if you can pick up Sunday, and you say yes before he finishes the sentence. This is why the roommate situation here is so baroque. You have friends in their 30s with graduate degrees living in an efficiency behind somebody's house. You have friends splitting a 2-bedroom 4-ways, where one of the bedrooms is a living room with a curtain and a strong personal boundary. Nobody is embarrassed, it's the local physics, and the coping is genuinely impressive, in a grim way. You know which supermarket runs which promotion on which day. You know the happy hour windows across 3 neighborhoods like a trader knows a spread. You have a friend who has not paid full price for a drink in Brickell since 2023 and considers this a legitimate line on her resume. And honestly, she's right. You're not bad with money, you're excellent with money. That's the only reason this has worked for 3 years. 6. The part you'd do again, but you'd sign the lease again. That's the inconvenient thing, and it deserves saying out loud before this turns into a eulogy, because somewhere in the 2nd year you stopped being a visitor. It happens in small administrative moments, not cinematic ones. The guy at the Ventanita starts making your coffee when he sees your car. Your neighbor's mother sends food up when she cooks too much, which is always, and it is not a gesture, it is a system. Your Spanish goes from tourist to functional to jokes, which is the real border crossing. And the first time you land one and the whole counter laughs, something in your chest resets. You learn the city's other calendar. That October has a smell. That the week the humidity finally breaks, usually late November, always without warning. The entire population goes outside at the same time like a released hostage situation. And for about 6 weeks, the place is so absurdly perfect that you understand every dumb thing anyone has ever done to stay here. You learn who Miami actually is under the marketing, a city built almost entirely by people who arrived from somewhere else with a bag and a plan, which means it has an unusually low tolerance for self-pity and an unusually high tolerance for hustle. Nobody here is impressed that things are hard. Everybody here is running something on the side. That's not a hardship narrative, it's a working culture, and after a while you find you've joined it, and you're better at it than you were. And then there's the water. Not the postcard version, the Tuesday version, 6:40 in the morning, before the shift, when it's flat and gray-green, and there are maybe 4 other people out, and one of them is a 70-year-old man doing laps like it's an appointment. 20 minutes, then you go earn the rent. Nobody's giving you credit for that. It doesn't offset anything. It won't hold up in the spreadsheet. But you got something real here, and that's the part that's going to make the next conversation so much harder. 7. The water is patient. There's a specific Miami skill you'll develop without noticing, reading the sky at 4 in the afternoon and deciding, in about a second and a half, whether you have time. Summer rain here isn't weather, it's an event with a schedule. Black wall over the Everglades, 20 minutes of biblical volume, everything steaming, done. You stop owning umbrellas, you start owning the knowledge of which underpass floods and which one only looks like it will. Then autumn arrives, and the water does something stranger. September through November, the highest tides of the year come in, and the ocean simply appears in the street. No storm, no warning. Blue sky, palm trees, and 8 inches of salt water lapping at a Prius in a neighborhood 2 miles from the beach. They call it sunny day flooding, which is one of the great euphemisms in American English. It sounds like a brunch special. You'll watch a man in loafers wade calmly across an intersection holding his shoes, checking his phone, entirely unbothered. And you'll realize you've become that guy. The numbers underneath it aren't subtle. Sea level around here is climbing about an inch every 3 years, and tidal flooding at Miami Beach has jumped several 100% since the mid-2000s. Researchers at FIU expect the handful of high tide flood days the city sees now to become 30 or 40 a year by 2030. Then the tide goes back out, and the city power washes the street, and everybody goes to work. And you learn to hold 2 facts at once because everyone here does. Fact 1. The roads are being raised, the pumps are going in, the building codes are the strictest in the country, and the towers keep going up on the water because somebody with money is confident. Fact 2. Your building's insurance renewal, your neighbor's assessment letter, and the salt on your car's undercarriage are all quietly voting the other way. Hurricane season is the same trick, stretched over 6 months. You have a plan. You have the water, the batteries, the app, the group chat that activates whenever something spins up near Hispaniola. You are prepared, competent, and casual about it, right up until the cone shifts west and your stomach drops like an elevator. You don't live in fear here. You live in a low hum. It's the sound of a beautiful place that has not yet been asked the question. 8. The leaving conversation. Everyone here has had it. Usually at a kitchen counter, usually after a bill, always in the same tone, half joke, half exit interview. What if we just went to Orlando, or Tampa, or Charlotte, or Atlanta, or back home, where a mortgage costs what your parking spot costs? Somebody always has a cousin who left, and is now describing a 4-bedroom on Instagram with the smugness of a man who has escaped a cult. And it's not idle anymore. Miami-Dade lost more than 10,000 residents in a single year recently, one of the largest county declines in the country. And the broader metro shed close to 70,000 people to other counties and states, while the luxury end of the market was simultaneously having its best year in history. Both things. Same city, same 12 months. Then your friend texts that her lease renewal came in and asks if you know anyone in Broward. That's the real split. Not rich and poor exactly, anchored and unanchored. The people who bought in 2016, or whose family bought in 1978, and the people paying today's price for yesterday's city. 2 populations sharing a Publix. So you run the numbers again, and here's what the numbers never capture. The spreadsheet doesn't have a column for your barber, or for the fact that your mother is 20 minutes away, or that you finally know a place well enough to give directions using landmarks that no longer exist, or that in the city you'd be moving to, you'd be explaining yourself constantly, and here you don't have to explain anything, and you have forgotten what a rare and expensive thing that is until you price it. The people who leave aren't giving up. They're doing responsible arithmetic, and most of them are correct. And a lot of them are also going to spend a decade being quietly homesick in a house they can actually afford. The people who stay aren't fools either. They just decided which bill they'd rather pay. You haven't decided. You've been not deciding for 4 years, which is technically a decision. 9. Final thoughts. Here's what nobody tells you about the beautiful places. America has a handful of cities that sell an idea of yourself, and Miami is the loudest of them. The version of you that's tan and fluent and unbothered, the one who made it and made it look easy. That version is available. It's just priced as a lifestyle rather than a life, and the invoice comes monthly, forever, and it doesn't build equity. So you get very good at the performance. You learn to look expensive on a budget, stay dry in a flood, stay cool in a heat index that would put a Midwesterner in the hospital, and keep a smile on through a special assessment that would end a marriage anywhere else. Those are real skills. Nobody's going to certify them, but you have them now, and you didn't before, and that's not nothing. And every so often you're on the causeway at dusk with the windows down, and the whole thing works. The light, the water, the city standing there being ridiculous. And you think, honestly, okay, I get it. This is why. Then a text comes in about the parking rate going up. Anyway, the dream's still here, still gorgeous, still charging by the month. Subscribe if you can swing the payment.